What up guys, Miguel here of YugaTech, and we already know that whenever Xiaomi introduces a new smartphone, it's a total bang for your buck. But the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019 is something we didn't see coming, especially with its affordable price. In this comparison review, we're pitting the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019 up against Xiaomi's latest beast, the Mi 9T. So with both these phones in hands, they're both comfortable to grip. The Y9 Prime 2019 is a little heavier than the Mi 9T, and it's got a 3D glass design, which is honestly made up of plastic. Huawei also features this unique dividing line, their marketing team calls it. Most users perceive this as a two-tone design, which is reminiscent of the Pixel design language. So the unit we have is in the emerald green color, but there are other classic colors such as the sapphire blue and midnight black. In the other corner, the Xiaomi Mi 9T brings us a sizzling design. It's an absolute head turner, especially when you have the same color as ours, which is the glacier blue color. They also have it in this flame red color, which is basically this but in red, and a midnight black color if you wanted to look a little bit more stealthy. But overall, all the colors of the Mi 9T are of the gamer-esque aesthetic. Another nice touch on the Mi 9T is that holographic accent, which can be kind of deceiving with the addition of the 48 megapixel tag next to it. It's actually the telephoto and not the 48 megapixel main camera. Both phones have triple rear cameras at the back with an LED flash, and you'll also find the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019's fingerprint scanner here as well. In front, you might mistake them with each other as both these devices get that true all-screen display experience thanks to those pop-up front-facing cameras and thin bezels. The pop-up camera of the Mi 9T doubles as an LED notification indicator as well. On the right, you'll find both their power buttons and volume rockers. Noticeably, the Mi 9T has a red accented one, which we like very much. At the bottom, the Y9 Prime 2019 keeps a headphone jack, a noise-cancelling mic for regular calls, a USB Type-C port, and a single downward-firing speaker. The Mi 9T keeps its dual SIM card tray here as well, USB Type-C port, noise-cancelling mic for regular calls, and a single downward-firing speaker here too. On top of each device, you'll find their pop-up cameras, plus a hybrid dual SIM card tray for the Y9 Prime 2019, and a headphone jack for the Mi 9T. There's nothing on both devices' left sides. So for design, we all have our own preferences and tastes, so it really depends on what suits yours. But between the two, it's the Xiaomi Mi 9T for me. Okay, let's check out those true all-screen displays. The Huawei Y9 Prime 2019 has a 6.59-inch LTPS LCD display with a 19.5:9 aspect ratio. It's got marginally thin bezels and a slightly bigger chin. The Xiaomi Mi 9T, on the other hand, has a slightly smaller 6.39-inch AMOLED panel with a 19.5:9 aspect ratio and Gorilla Glass 5 protection. They both have the same screen resolution at 2340x1080, but the AMOLED display on the Mi 9T creates a huge impact. The colors look more vibrant, contrast is on point, and it gets a little brighter when you max out the brightness, which translates to a slightly better viewing experience under direct sunlight. The Mi 9T's display out of the box falls on the warmer side, while the Y9 Prime 2019's display appears cooler in comparison. The Y9 Prime 2019 does have a bigger display, but we do prefer the AMOLED experience the Mi 9T offers. So for display, it's gonna be the Mi 9T. Now quickly on audio quality between the two phones, the Mi 9T can get significantly louder with a fairly good sound separation for a single speaker. The Y9 Prime 2019's quality isn't as good, which some may say is acceptable for what it's worth. When it comes to software, the two phones run on Android 9 Pie skinned with their own respective OS. That's EMUI 9 for the Y9 Prime 2019 and MIUI 10 for the Mi 9T. And just like design, software is pretty much subjective to each user's preferences. Generally, they both have a clean looking interface with useful nifty features and customization, but for most of us here in the office, we prefer MIUI for its minimalistic design language, plus it already has a native night mode. For biometric security, the Y9 Prime 2019 does not get any facial recognition, which is totally fine. I'm pretty sure if it did, it wouldn't be that good, so having a more secure rear-mounted fingerprint scanner is good enough for me at this price point. The Mi 9T, on the other hand, gets an in-display scanner, which is around just as fast as the Y9 Prime 2019's rear-mounted one. You also get optical facial recognition on here, which again can be kind of annoying since you still have to swipe up on the display to activate it, instead of it just popping out automatically when pressing the power button. Alright, now things get more interesting as we talk about their hardware and performance. The Huawei Y9 Prime 2019 packs a high silicon Kirin 710F with a Mali G51 MP4 GPU, 4 gigs of RAM, and 128 gigs of internal storage, which you can expand up to 512 gigs via micro SD card. As for the Xiaomi Mi 9T, you get a Snapdragon 730 with an Adreno 618 GPU, 6 gigs of RAM, and either 64 or 128 gigs of internal storage without any option to expand it. In our experience, both phones can surely handle general tasks such as social media browsing, music streaming, taking calls, and capturing photos smoothly without much hiccups. However, you'll really notice that the Mi 9T's Snapdragon 730 performs way better than the Y9 Prime 2019's Kirin 710F, specifically when playing more graphic-intensive games and more demanding tasks. Some frame drops appear in the Y9 Prime 2019, but it's still reliable if you're not a heavy user. If you guys are interested in the numbers, take a look at these benchmark scores right here. As you can see, the Xiaomi Mi 9T serves double the performance the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019 gives, so it's pretty clear who's the winner here. Keeping both these devices running is a 4000 mAh battery with 18W fast charging for the Mi 9T. The Y9 Prime 2019 charges normally without any fast charging capabilities. In our PC Mark battery test, the Y9 Prime 2019 got a total of 16 hours and 15 minutes, while the Mi 9T yielded 14 hours and 23 minutes. But in our video loop test, the Y9 Prime 2019 got 18 hours and 53 minutes, while the Mi 9T actually got the exact same result. Again, that's 18 hours and 53 minutes. It's worth mentioning that in day-to-day use, we found that the Y9 Prime 2019 actually lasted longer by a few more hours. But do remember that the Mi 9T has fast charging in its arsenal, which could justifiably be more useful. Moving on to the cameras. Both devices get AI-powered camera software, and it's also worth mentioning that the Y9 Prime 2019's pop-up camera pops up a second faster than the Mi 9T when switching from the rear cameras. Speaking of the rear cameras, the Y9 Prime 2019 gets a 16MP main shooter, an 8MP ultrawide, and a 2MP depth sensor. The Mi 9T is equipped with a 48MP main sensor, a 13MP ultrawide, and an 8MP telephoto. As for those pop-up front-facing cameras, the Y9 Prime 2019 gets a 16MP sensor and a 20MP one for the Mi 9T. Now, let's get into those sample photos. In this first shot, we have AJ. The Y9 Prime 2019 looks like it has its HDR mode turned on when it's actually turned off, which means dynamic range is pretty good. But at the same time, her face looks unnaturally smooth and the colors appear a bit too saturated. Meanwhile, the Mi 9T captured a softer looking photo with accurate colors, which we prefer more. Now in these photos, the Y9 Prime 2019 looks brighter and more contrasted compared to the natural look you get from the Mi 9T. It's also noticeable that the Mi 9T has a wider field of view. When it comes to low lighting conditions, turning on their AI modes can help fix some situations. Although in this one, the Mi 9T still did a better job overall, even if the Y9 Prime 2019 amped up the brightness. With the Mi 9T, you just get more details and the colors are more accurate. Here, we have the same shot but in the ultra-wide mode. You don't get much details from both in comparison to the standard shots, but between the two, the Y9 Prime 2019 looks too washed out and the skin tone looks better on the Mi 9T. Here's a shot taken at night with both devices' AI mode turned on. Both images appear grainy and a little too washed out, but the Mi 9T obviously produced a brighter image showing more in the shadows. The Y9 Prime 2019 on the other hand made the shot look a little bit more dramatic by adding a little more oomph to the highlights. Checking out both devices' dedicated night modes, both actually did a great job here, but I'll still hand it to the Mi 9T for producing a more clean and vivid shot. For selfies, here are photos of wax. They're actually pretty good and highly acceptable. We did observe that the Y9 Prime 2019 produces a sharper image while the Mi 9T appears more soft, which does give you more room to add a filter or edit the image afterwards. Lastly, here are portrait selfies of AJ. Focusing on the subject background separation, both actually did a pretty good job, with the Y9 Prime 2019 having a little trouble with a few strands of her hair. So at this point, it's pretty clear that the Xiaomi Mi 9T takes the cake here in the camera department too. Now, before we conclude this video, it's time to talk about price. The Huawei Y9 Prime 2019 gets a price tag of 12,990 pesos. With that money, you get 4 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of internal storage, which is expandable up to 512 gigs via micro SD card. With the Xiaomi Mi 9T on the other hand, you get two options. That's 15,990 pesos for the 6 gigs of RAM plus 64 gigs of internal storage variant, and 17,990 pesos for the 6 gigs of RAM plus 128 gigs of internal storage variant. Both phones are very much reliable for everyday use, but if you are on a slightly tighter budget and you want a phone that can last you a whole day, handle heavy games just with a few frame drops here and there, and can even provide you some great selfies, then the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019 is the one for you. But if you had a little more money, then definitely check out the Xiaomi Mi 9T. We've done a lot of videos on that junior beast and it can really pack a punch. So, what did you guys think of this comparison review? Huawei Y9 Prime 2019 or the Xiaomi Mi 9T? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to smack that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hit that bell icon so you get notified of future uploads. Be sure to visit YugaTech.com for the latest tech news and reviews. Again, this has been Miguel, and I'll see you in the next one.